Hi, I'm Lori Rivera, artist in Southern Indiana, and today I'm going to be talking about productivity and how having bipolar disorder affects my productivity. Bipolar disorder is a mental health issue that causes extreme shifts in mood and energy. And when I'm manic, I get tons of stuff done, and when I'm depressed, I can barely function and I don't hardly get anything done. So I'm going to talk about this today, and while I'm talking about my experience and how I manage my productivity and try to make it better, you can watch me paint. So my productivity is directly affected by my mood state and energy level, so depending on whether I'm manic or depressed. I'm naturally a high energy person, so you can imagine how frustrating it feels when I get depressed. As I said earlier, bipolar is, when you have extreme shifts in mood and energy. And I do find that as I get older, I'm a little less energetic than I was when I was younger, but I think that's typical for most people. And even though my medications work for the most part, I still have mountains and valleys due to the bipolar. So I still do experience a little bit of mania and some depressions. So in general, I'm the type of person that suffers from analysis paralysis. And what this means is that when you're given too many things to decide on, or when you have too much to do, then you can't decide to do anything, so you don't do anything at all. So when I have a long list of stuff I need to do, sometimes I just become paralyzed, and I just don't do anything at all. But when I'm manic, I become more creative. Ideas come at me really fast. I can hardly keep up with my thoughts. I become very productive in the early stages of mania. So like when I'm hypomanic, that's just mild mania. I become very productive and very focused, and I can get a lot done. When I'm like this, I sleep less. I start many projects, and a lot of times I don't complete most of them. When I'm manic, I have the tendency to get a lot done. I mean, a lot. Until it gets to the, majorly manic state where I'm like in a full-blown mania. Then it's very hard to concentrate and focus on anything hardly at all. But when I'm manic, in the early stages of mania, when it gets a little bit worse, I guess, not hypomania, but when in the middle, kind of in the middle, so I'm in the middle of being hypomanic and manic, I jump from one thing to another. I don't stick with anything very long. I have a lot of things going on. My focus is becoming nearly impossible. In the beginning of mania, when I'm hypomanic, it's great because I can focus so good and I get so much done. But when it gets a little bit worse, it becomes hard to focus. Also, when I'm manic, or when I'm starting to enter the manic phases, that's when I start businesses. So I've been known to start many businesses in my lifetime. Now, I usually don't stick with them because they're manic ideas. So like I've started an organic soap business. I've started a flea market booth 3 times. Yes, 3 different times. I started a couponing blog, a long time ago, about 20 years ago, called Saving Bucks with Schnooks. And I've started a web design business. I've started a blog template design business called One Penguin Designs. I started a socks website that literally just sold socks, like decorative socks. And my most recent venture is I started a mailbox subscription called Mailbox Magic. And people who signed up got an art print, a sticker, a coloring page, and a palette to paint the coloring page with. But anyway, the one thing that I have stuck with the longest in my life is my art business. So I started painting around 2009, but I took a long break from it, and then I started again in 2016. And since then, I have been pretty much painting steadily and on a serious level since then. Now, when I'm depressed, I have no energy whatsoever. I get very little done. My self-confidence suffers. I tie my self-worth to my productivity, and I become disappointed in myself. Then, of course, I become even more depressed because I'm not getting anything done. I often have periods of abolition, which is basically when you don't have the motivation to do anything. So the abolition, however, is not necessarily tied to my depression. It happens even when I'm in a normal mood. But when I experience this abolition, it makes it nearly impossible to get out of bed. I simply have no motivation to do anything except lie in bed. So recently, my nurse practitioner told me to imagine my current project being finished and the satisfaction I'd feel as a result of being done with my project. So she said that when I experience that abolition and I don't want to get out of bed, I need to focus on picturing in my mind my project being done and the satisfaction I get from it being done. And sometimes that is enough to help me get out of bed. So one thing that's important for me is to always have some kind of project going on. I always have to have some project that I'm working on. I can't let myself get stagnant, because if I let myself get stagnant and not have anything going on, then I have even more of a tendency to not want to do anything. Over the years, I've gotten used to these shifting energy states and different levels of productivity, that comes and goes. I just know that when I'm a little bit manic, or if I'm even in a normal mood, I just try and get as much done as I possibly can, because I know right around the corner depression is lurking and I won't get as much done. My medication, however, has been a true lifesaver. For the most part, my moods are pretty normal. I still have ups and downs, but for the most part, I stay on an even keel due to my medication working. And it's also important to note that most of the time, the majority of the time, I would say probably, I don't know, maybe 70% of the time, 75% of the time, I'm in pretty much a normal mood. But the other 25% of the time, I'm either hypomanic, manic, or depressed. Now, I haven't been manic for quite a while, but I do experience hypomanias. And I experience them quite often. I would say, I probably have a hypomanic episode every few months, every 3 to 6 months, that last anywhere from a couple weeks to, a couple months or longer. But anyway, over the years, I have learned to deal with these energy shifts. Like I said, my medication helps tremendously. Now, I used to stop my medication because I would start thinking that I didn't really have an issue, or because I was hoping to gain more energy, because my medicines do slow me down a bit. Actually, they slow me down a lot, but it's better than being off the medications and being so ill that I can't do anything. Now, even though I'm on medication and it works, like I said earlier, I still do have ups and downs. However, like I alluded to earlier, when I'm manic or in a normal mood, I kind of try to ride the wave and get as much done as I possibly can, because I know the crash is right around the corner. Something that has helped my productivity tremendously is maintaining a planner. So I plan out a month at a time. I plan when I'm going to paint, when I have shows that I'm going to enter, when I'm going to record YouTube videos, when I'm going to, record my financial activity, maintaining my books and stuff. So I live by my planner. If I don't plan out my months, I don't get much done. I lose track of things. I do random things without completing much of anything. I also have a Things app. It's an app on my phone called Things. And I keep a running list of everything I need to do in there. And then I also use my phone calendar for appointments, like doctor's appointments and appointments for my daughter. Anything that's not art related, I put in my phone calendar. Anything that's art related goes in my paper planner. Something else that's been important for me is staying on a routine. And in the summertime, when my daughter is out of school, I find it very difficult to stay on a normal routine, because I'm a night owl. I like to stay up sometimes I'm up until 4 o'clock in the morning. And it's just harder to maintain a normal routine. Now, when she goes to school, when she goes back to school, which she started school today, I have the tendency to be on a better routine because I know I have to go to bed at a decent hour so that I can get her up and go get her ready for school. So, but yeah, maintaining a routine is so important, not only if you have bipolar disorder, but even just anybody. It's good for anybody to stay on a routine. So, but anyway, I would love to hear how you manage your productivity, what makes you more productive, what causes you to lose momentum. If you liked this video, please like it and leave a comment. And lastly, don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you liked this video. I'm going to do a whole series of videos related to having bipolar and how it affects me as an artist. So I hope you follow along in my journey.